So, good day. This will be the chapter 2 of the Capstone project or our methods of research or thesis 1. Uh, So, the intended learning outcomes or objectives of this chapter, upon the completion of the chapter, the students demonstrate understanding of metaphysics and epistemology, inductive and deductive reasoning, hypothetico-deductive reasoning for scientific method, and positivism, relativism, postmodernism, and critical realism. Now, what is research? Okay. So, research is about acquiring knowledge and developing understanding, collecting facts, and interpreting them to build up a picture of the world, of us, and even within us. It is fairly obvious then that we should hold a view on what knowledge is and how we can make sense of our surroundings. These views will be based on the philosophical stance that we take. Because in philosophy of research, it consists of learning about how theory after theory has been erected only to be torn down by the subsequent one. No? And that it has little bearing on the day-to-day practice of research and only causes confusion. There are different ways of going about doing research depending on your assumptions, no? About what actually exists in reality and what we can know metaphysics and how we can acquire knowledge or epistemology. Now, when we say metaphysics, of course, it is concerned with questions such as what it is to be, who we are, what is knowledge, what are things, and what is time in space. In metaphysics, we have idealism. No? It advocates the reality is all in the mind. No? That everything that exists is in some way dependent on the activity of the mind. Hence, as phenomena are reliant on mental and social factors, they are therefore in a state of constant change. So, example, music is not just a sound, it is an emotional experience. We have materialism. No? It insists that only physical things and their interaction exist and that our minds in consciousness are wholly due to the active operation of materials. Hence, phenomena are independent of social factors and are therefore stable. Music is just vibration in the air. Okay? Epistemology. Okay? Under epistemology, it is a theory of knowledge, no? Especially about its validation and the methods used. It deals with how we know things and what we can regard as acceptable knowledge in a discipline. It is concerned with the reliability of our senses and the power of the mind. We have empiricism, okay? A knowledge gained by sensory experience using inductive reasoning. Another is rationalism, a knowledge gained by reasoning using deductive reasoning. Okay, we have inductive and deductive reasoning. A more practical approach that goes a long way to overcome the shortcomings of each is the hypothetico-deductive method, which uses the features of each uh, in pragmatic way. No? In fact, the method used in math scientific inquiry and hence also called scientific method. Under this one, we have inductive reasoning or inductive. No? It starts from a specific observation, of course, uh, or sensory experiences and then develops a general conclusion from them. Okay? And we have deductive reasoning, no? It begins with a general statement and through logical argument comes to a specific conclusion. And we have syllogism. o syllogism. It is the simplest form of a deductive argument. So, what is hypothetico-deductive reasoning or the scientific method? Actually, we are familiar with the scientific method. Sometimes, maybe, we are going to use hypothetico-deductive, but most of the time, we use scientific method. It is a combination of experience with deductive and inductive reasoning, which is the foundation of modern scientific research and is commonly referred to as a scientific method. Again, the hypothetical-deductive method combines inductive and deductive reasoning, resulting in the to and fro process of, okay, of course, identification or clarification of a problem, developing a hypothesis or the testable theory inductively from observation, charting their implications by deduction, practical or theoretical testing of the hypothesis, rejecting or refining it in the light of the results. There are certain assumptions that underlie scientific method that relate to a materialist view of metaphysics and a positivist view of epistemology. No? Number one, of course, order. The universe is an order system that can be investigated and the underlying rules can be exposed. External reality. We all share the same reality that does not depend on our existence. We can therefore all equally contribute to and share knowledge that reflects this reality. We have reliability. We can rely on our senses and reasoning to produce facts that reliably interpret reality. Parsimony. The simpler the explanation, the better. Okay? Theories should be refined to the most compact formulation. And generality. The rules of reliability or the rules of reality discovered through research can be applied in all relevant situations regardless of time and place. Now, we have positive relativism, postmodernism, and critical realism. There is an important issue that controls the study of the social sciences that is not too pertinent in the natural sciences. This is the questions of the position of the human subject and researcher and the status of social phenomena. Is human society subjected to laws that exist independent of the human actors that make up society, or do individuals and groups create their own version of social forces? As briefly mentioned, that the two ways of reasoning, a middle way was also being formulated that draws on the useful characteristic of both approaches. Okay, we have positivism. Okay, the positivist approach to scientific investigation is based on acceptance as fact that the world around us is real and that can we find out about the realities. There is an order made up of atomistic, discrete, and observable events. Positivism aims at developing a unique and elegant description of any chosen aspect of the world that is true regardless of what people think. Okay, we have also relativism. Okay, also called interpretivism, idealism, constructivism, or even constructionism. So when we say relativism, sometimes we call it as interpretivism, idealism, constructivism, or even constructionism. Okay? It is based on the philosophical doctrines of idealism and humanism. It maintains that the view of the world that we see around us is the creation of the mind, And this does not mean that the world is not real, but rather that we can only experience it personally through our perception, which are influenced by our preconceptions, beliefs, and values. We are not neutral, no? This embodied observes but part of a society. Unlike the natural sciences, the researcher is not observing phenomena from outside the system, but it is inextricably bound into the human situation which he or she is studying, as well as concentrating on the search of constant in human behavior which highlight the repetitive, predictable, and invariant aspect of society. The researchers does not ignore what is subjective, individual, and creative. Facts and values cannot be separated. The researcher encounters a world already interpreted, and his job is to reveal this according to the meanings created by humans rather than to discover universal laws. Therefore, there can be more than one perspective and interpretation of a phenomenon. So as what we have here, a table 2.1, comparison between positivist and relativist, no? Relativist approaches, no? So we have the issue, the positivist and the relativist. Okay? So philosophical basis, we have realism, the world exists and it is not knowable as it is really is. In relativist, idealism, the world exists but different people construe it in a very different ways. The role of research, to discover universal laws and generalization, but in the other one is to reveal different interpretation of the world as made by people. Role of researcher, for positivist, neutral observer, but in relativist, part of research process. Of course, theoretical approach, or rational, using inductive and scientific methods and value-free data. While in the other one, subjective, using inductive methods and value-laden data. The method, of course, experiments or mathematical models and quantitative analysis to validate, reject, or refine hypotheses. In some other way, surveys and observations with qualitative analysis uh, to seek meaningful relationship and to consequences of their interactions. Analysis of language and meanings. We have analysis of society, search of order. Society is governed by a unique set of values and made possible only by acceptance of these values. While in relativist, no, search for dynamics, multitude of values leading to complex interaction. Society made possible by negotiation. Actually, this table compares the alternative basis of interpreting the world. Table just because the difference of perspective between positivist and relativist approaches are so radical. Don't think that you need to expose purely one or the other approach. Different aspects of the life lend themselves to different methods of interpretation. How about postmodernism? It challenges key issues such as meaning, knowledge, and truth, which have opened up new perspectives and ideas about the essence of research. It denounces the meta-narratives, or all-embracing theories, of course, of the modern movement as a product of the Enlightenment and insists on the inseparable links between knowledge and power. In fact, there is no universal knowledge or truth. Science is just a construct and only one of many types of knowledge that are all subjects of continual reinvention and change. And of course, postmodernism is a complex combination of ideas that emerged in a fragmented fashion at the end of the 19th century, but became highly developed by French social theories such as Saussure, Barthes, Derrida, Foucault, Baudrillard, and Lyotard in the latter part of the 20th century. It challenges the assumptions that language can be precisely used to represent reality. Meanings of the words are ambiguous, as words are only sign or labels given to concept or what is signified, no? And therefore there is no necessary correspondence between the word and the meaning, the signifier and the signified. Critical realism, no? Inevitably, there has been a reaction to this postmodernist challenge to traditional science, which threatens a descent into chaos and powerlessness to act because of lack of possibility of agreement on truths and reality. This has been labeled critical reality based on critical reasoning. The critical reasoning, it can be seen as a reconciliatory approach which recognizes, like the positivist, the existence of natural order in social events and discourse, but claims that this order cannot be detected by merely observing a pattern of events. The underlying order must be discovered through the process of interpretation while doing theoretical and practical work, particularly in social sciences. Unlike the positivists, critical realists do not claim that there is a direct link between the concept they develop and the observable phenomena, because concepts and theories about social events are developed to the basis of their observable effects and interpreted in such a way that they can be understood and acted upon, even if the interpretation is open to revision as understanding grows. And this also distinguishes critical realists from relativists who deny the existence of such general structures divorced from the specific event of situation in the context of the research and researcher. Okay, so what we have here, no, uh, actually, this table, method of inquiry, a compassion, is summarize the short guide to some key features that have influenced thinking about research. Okay, so again, so we have metaphysics, epistemology, no, and how they interact with positivism, relativism, and postmodernism. Okay? Now, this will be the key figures, no, of our research. No? All of us are very familiar with Plato, okay? Because this represent the two constructing approaches, no, to acquiring knowledge and understanding the world, or the epistemology. Plato argued for deductive thinking, no, yung starting with theory to make sense of what we observe, and Aristotle for the opposite, inductive thinking, starting with observation in order to build theories. Okay? We have René Descartes. He provided the starting point of modern philosophy by using a method of systematic doubt, that we cannot rely on our senses or logic, and therefore he challenged all who sought for the basis of certainty and knowledge. His famous maxim is, I think, therefore I am. That is, I can only be sure of my own existence. The rest must be doubted. That is from René Descartes. We have John Locke, right? Okay, John Locke, of course, he made the distinction between bodies or objects that can be directly measured and therefore have a physical existence, and those abstract qualities that can be generated by our perceptions and feelings. George Berkeley, he argued that all things that exist are only mental phenomena. They exist by being perceived, and this is our world. Okay, si David, no? He made a distinction between system of ideas that can provide certainty. Example, based on him, mathematics and those that rely on our perceptions or empirical evidence which are not certain. He recognized the importance of inductive thinking in the advancement of scientific knowledge, but highlighted its restriction in finding the truth. Immanuel Kant, he held that our minds organize our experiences to make sense of the world. Therefore, facts are not independent of the way we see things and interpret them. Karl Popper, he formulated a combination of deductive and inductive thinking in the hypothetico-deductive method, and commonly known as scientific method. This method aims to refine theories to get closer to the truth. We have Auguste Comte. He maintained that society can be analyzed empirically just like any other subjects of scientific inquiry. Based on him, social laws and theories are based on psychology and biology. How about Karl Marx? No? He defined moral and social aspect of humanity in terms of materials forces. Emile, okay? Emile believes that, or he argued actually, that society developed its own system of collectively shared norms and beliefs. And these were social facts. Max Weber, okay, he insisted that we need to understand the values and meaning of subjects without making judgment. Bestien was the term he coined for his, which is German for understanding. Thomas Kuhn, he revealed that scientific research cannot be separated from human influences and is subject to social norms. How about Michel? He argued that there was no progress in science, only changing perspectives, as the practice of science is shown to control what is permitted to count as knowledge. He demonstrated how discourse is used to make social regulations and control appear natural. How about Derrida? He stated that there is no external or fixed meaning to text, nor is there a subject who exists prior to language and to particular experiences. You cannot get outside or beyond the structure. This approach led to the movement called deconstruction. And that's it for today. This will be my references, of course. Thank you for watching and see you on my discussion for chapter 3.